Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 20th August 2026. Today, we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. Our top story today: Google is deepening its custom AI silicon supply chain with Marvell Technology. On August 19th, Marvell agreed to help develop chips and related technology for Google's Tensor Processing Unit ecosystem, while granting Google a warrant to buy up to 58.97 million Marvell shares at $206.58 each. Reuters calculates the warrant could be worth roughly $12.18 billion if fully exercised. But this is not an immediate $12 billion investment. Most of the warrant depends on Google meeting purchasing targets through Marvell's fiscal 2033. Fully exercised, the stake would make Google Marvell's fifth largest investor based on LSEG data cited by Reuters. The arrangement also matters competitively. Broadcom has been Google's principal custom chip partner and has an agreement covering future custom AI chips and next-generation AI rack components through 2031. Marvell shares rose more than 11% in pre-market trading after the announcement, while Broadcom fell more than 2%. For infrastructure teams, the larger signal is that Google's TPU roadmap is adding another specialized silicon relationship as hyperscalers spend heavily on internally specified accelerators and inference infrastructure. From the financing behind AI infrastructure to the capital markets around its biggest model providers, OpenAI is reportedly targeting a public debut in 2027. CNBC reports that Chief Financial Officer Sarah Friar told employees at an August 19th all-hands meeting that OpenAI will be a public company in 2027, with the possibility of going public sooner if the business continues to improve. Friar characterized an initial public offering not as a finish line, but as another fundraising milestone. OpenAI has not publicly announced an offering date. CNBC says the company confidentially filed its prospectus with United States regulators in June, beginning the Securities and Exchange Commission review process without yet publishing a registration statement. Friar also reportedly discussed rival Anthropic, which has filed confidential paperwork as well, while telling employees OpenAI is running its own race. The internal metrics are notable. CNBC says employees were shown a 35% quarter-to-date increase in revenue run rate, 50% growth in enterprise revenue run rate, and 20 million weekly active users for OpenAI's AI coding and work product. A public filing would eventually provide far more standardized disclosure on revenue, losses, infrastructure costs, governance, and risks, potentially giving enterprise customers clearer visibility into a major long-term AI supplier. Turning from provider economics to the models developers can actually deploy, Google's Gemini 3.7 Flash is reaching Google AI Pro and AI Ultra subscribers. Nokia Power User reports availability in standard Gemini Chat and Gemini Spark, following Google's August 13th release to developer channels, including the Gemini API through Google AI Studio, Google Antigravity, and the Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. Google's documentation describes Gemini 3.7 Flash as a multimodal reasoning model supporting text, images, audio, and video, with up to 1 million input tokens and 64,000 output tokens. Developers can configure low, medium, or high thinking levels to trade quality against latency and cost. Google says the model improves coding, instruction following, and tool calling, although its published performance comparisons are vendor-reported and should be validated on production workloads. The stable API identifier is Gemini 3.7 Flash. Introductory API pricing is 75 cents per million input tokens and $3.75 per million output tokens through the end of 2026. On January 1st, 2027, those prices are scheduled to double. For engineering teams, long context, multimodal input, and configurable reasoning make this a consequential Flash tier option, but evaluation should include tool failures, retries, and thinking token usage rather than headline token prices alone. From the models back to the physical footprint required to run them, Pennsylvania is tightening the rules for proposed data centers. Governor Josh Shapiro signed an executive order on August 18th requiring developers to secure local approval and make legally binding commitments to Pennsylvania's Responsible Infrastructure Development, or GRID, requirements before the Department of Environmental Protection reviews permit applications. The order also removes AI data centers from fast-track permitting and prohibits non-disclosure agreements for data center projects. The GRID standards cover areas including energy affordability, environmental protection, workforce development, transparency, and community engagement. Bloomberg reports that projects must also follow water conservation requirements, cover costs associated with higher electricity use, and supply their own generation. The Philadelphia Inquirer notes this is not a moratorium, although local approval creates a significant new gate before state permitting. Shapiro said more than 100 data center proposals were reportedly under discussion in Pennsylvania, while characterizing most as speculative and noting that many lacked detailed plans, sufficient financing, electricity access, or a committed technology tenant. For infrastructure planners, the immediate takeaway is procedural. Pennsylvania projects now face community approval and enforceable grid commitments before environmental review, putting power, water, and local consent directly into the AI capacity development pathway. That pressure on data center development meets an enormous appetite for infrastructure capital. Nebius Group is proposing a $4.5 billion private convertible notes offering. It includes $2.75 billion due in 2030 and $1.75 billion due in 2034. Nebius says proceeds would support data center construction, expansion of its full-stack AI cloud, and GPU purchases. The financing has not closed, and interest rates, conversion rates, and other final terms remain subject to pricing and market conditions. Capital is also flowing into physical AI research. Former NVIDIA Toronto AI Lab leader Sanja Fidler has launched Vida AI with former NVIDIA colleagues Zan Gocic and Huan Ling. BetaKit and The Logic report that the Toronto-headquartered startup has raised about $90 million United States dollars, with backing from Radical Ventures and Kozla Ventures. Vida is developing multimodal world models spanning language, images, and video for robotics and embodied intelligence, with a stated focus on building simulated reality for physical AI. From funding new AI systems to monetizing established ones, OpenAI is expanding ChatGPT ads into 31 European markets during the week of August 24th. Markets include Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. Ads will appear for free and Go users, while Plus, Pro, and Enterprise remain ad-free. OpenAI says advertisements are labeled, separate from responses, and do not influence answers. Initial advertiser access runs through OpenAI's sales team and partners, with self-service Ads Manager access planned later. Beyond commercial AI, machine learning is revealing new biological signals. A Nature Medicine study analyzed more than 7,000 plasma proteins from 60,542 participants to estimate biological aging across more than 40 cell types. Using cohorts including UK Biobank and the Global Neurodegeneration Proteomics Consortium, researchers linked cell-specific aging signatures with disease and mortality outcomes over as much as 15 years. The key caveat is clinical readiness. This is research evidence for risk stratification, not a validated diagnostic blood test. From biological prediction to autonomous movement, Pony.ai says its overseas robotaxi pipeline now exceeds 4,000 vehicles. That includes a contracted European deployment of more than 2,000 robotaxis with Uber, but the 4,000 figure covers agreements and negotiations rather than active vehicles. Pony.ai reported a global fleet of 1,975 vehicles as of June 30th. Second quarter robotaxi services revenue reached $12.1 million, up 691.2% year over year. And finally, the popularity of AI products is creating familiar new bait for attackers. Microsoft Threat Intelligence says phishing, malvertising, and search-driven campaigns have impersonated ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Anthropic's Claude. One ChatGPT-themed payment campaign sent 4,500 emails in a detected wave, while an Anthropic-branded campaign targeted more than 2,000 organizations. Microsoft stresses that these are brand impersonation attacks, not evidence those AI services were compromised. Verify senders, domains, attachments, and unexpected software or account prompts through official channels. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.